Have you ever read a diary that could change your life? This is not just a diary. It was written by an ancient darkness itself. And whoever reads it feels that something is always watching from behind. In 1987, after a landslide in northern Pakistan, a torn leather-bound journal was discovered inside. The name Ibrahim bin Yunus was written. Ibrahim wrote about the most dangerous valley he had ever entered, a place where light does not survive, and the trees, they are not just trees, but shadows of people. The third night here, and I have already lost my way. They say the valley swallows light, and my heartbeat echoes everywhere. As Ibrahim moves forward, silence grows heavier with each step. He feels someone following him. There is a faint rustling of leaves, but no footsteps. First scene, a broken old bridge beneath the bridge. No sound of water, just darkness. I looked back, no one. Yet the shadows were moving. He then reaches an ancient temple with a carved warning at the door. Beyond this point, light does not survive. The torch in his hand flickers as if someone blew on it from the shadows. Inside the temple, Ibrahim sees human handprints on the walls. These are not just marks. These are real hands. From a large crack in the wall, a deep, slow, breathing sound comes out. His feet feel stuck in the ground, as if the darkness itself grabbed him. The last torn page of the diary contains a single warning. If this diary ever reaches you, do not return to this valley. The darkness remembers. The diary warned me, but curiosity pulled me forward. The darkness remembers, and I could feel it breathing behind me. Ibrahim stepped further into the temple. His torch flickered with every breath of cold air. The walls seemed to whisper secrets of those who had disappeared here centuries ago. Each step echoed unnaturally, as if the temple itself was alive and listening. He noticed the carved stone floors were covered in faint, blood-like stains, and shadows seemed to stretch toward him with every flicker of his torch. A cold wind swept through the chamber, carrying whispers in a language he could not understand. Suddenly, a hidden passage opened behind a cracked wall. An invisible force seemed to pull him toward it. He tried to step back, but his feet refused to move. It was as if the darkness itself had claimed him. Inside the narrow tunnel, faint glowing symbols appeared on the walls. They formed patterns that were ancient, almost alive. Ibrahim traced the symbols with his trembling fingers. The moment he touched them, a chill ran through his entire body, and he felt eyes watching him from every shadow. A whisper echoed through the tunnel. "You should not have come. You should not have come." The voice was neither male nor female, but it carried centuries of rage and sorrow. Ibrahim pressed on. Compelled by a mixture of fear and curiosity, the tunnel opened into a central chamber, filled with dusty relics, broken idols, and shattered stone statues. The shadows here were different. They twisted and formed vague shapes, like human figures frozen mid-motion, trapped between life and death. Their eyes glowed faintly in the dim torchlight, staring directly at him on the floor. He noticed a black, pulsating mark, almost as if something had just left it. The air grew thicker, heavier. The breathing sounds were closer now, synchronized with his own heartbeat. He could feel it, something unseen, circling him, learning his every move. He bent down to inspect the relics and saw ancient tools covered in dried blood. One of the broken idols seemed to move subtly, casting a shadow that did not belong to the statue itself. Ibrahim's mind raced, trying to rationalize what he was seeing. But logic failed him. The diary in his bag suddenly flipped open by itself. Pages turned rapidly until a single phrase glowed on the parchment. "The darkness is patient. It remembers every step. Do not turn back. or it will follow you forever. Ibrahim felt an icy hand brush against his shoulder. He spun round. But no one was there. A whisper closer than before filled the chamber. It watches you. It remembers you. The shadows seemed to pulse with life, stretching toward him from every corner of the room. He wanted to run, but the temple itself seemed to shift, corridors extending and folding in ways that defied reason. The feeling of being watched intensified, pressing down on him like a weight. In that moment, he realized the temple was not abandoned. It was waiting. It was waiting for someone to enter. Someone to continue the story that had trapped countless souls before him. Ibrahim gripped the diary tightly. He whispered to himself, "I cannot leave, but I cannot stay." And then, the walls seemed to close in, and the darkness whispered, "Your footsteps are mine now." The whisper echoed through the chamber like a cold breath crawling across Ibrahim's skin. He stumbled backward, gripping the diary tightly as the floor beneath him began to tremble. The torch in his hand flickered violently, shrinking until only a dim ember remained, for a moment. Everything fell silent. Then, a deep heartbeat thudded through the temple walls. Not his own. This was something older, something alive. Ibrahim forced his legs to move. He stepped toward the far side of the chamber where a cracked archway stood, half buried in dust. As he approached, the dust began to swirl upward, forming faint shapes, pale. Faceless figures drifting like smoke. One of them leaned close and whispered in a hollow voice, "We walked here before you, and we never escaped." Ibrahim's breath caught in his throat. He pushed past the figures, refusing to look into the empty hollows where their eyes should have been. Beyond the archway lay another corridor, long, narrow, and impossibly dark. The walls dripped with moisture, and strange claw-like scratches ran along the stone as if something had been dragged through, resisting with every step. He lifted the torch and noticed fresh scratches on the floor, as if made just moments ago. The air grew colder, distant. Rhythmic tapping echoed ahead, like someone's nails dragging along stone. Tap, tap, tap. Ibrahim tightened his grip and whispered, "Show yourself." But instead of an answer, the tapping stopped, and a soft breathing sound began behind him, slow, heavy, wet. He turned round just in time to see a shadow disappear into the wall. The temperature dropped instantly. Frost crawled across the stone. His fingers numbed. His breath came out in white clouds. A voice whispered behind his ear, "You are not alone in the dark." "You never were." Ibrahim ran. He didn't care about the noise his footsteps made. He didn't care about the shadows moving along the ceiling like spiders. He ran until the corridor opened into a huge, circular hall, larger than any he had seen before. The center of the hall contained a colossal stone well embedded in the floor, marked with strange runes. It pulsed like a gigantic heartbeat. Round the wheel stood 6 stone statues, each representing a faceless figure holding a tool, a knife, a bowl, a chain, a scroll, a bell, and a torch. But something was wrong. The statues were bleeding. Thin lines of dark, thick liquid ran from their eyes and down their stone bodies, dripping onto the wheel below. Each drop made the room vibrate. Ibrahim stepped closer to the nearest statue. The moment he touched its base, its stone arm twitched. He jumped back, heart racing. The diary slipped from his hands and landed on the stone wheel. Instantly, the runes lit up in a cold blue light. The statues turned their heads toward him, slowly, painfully, grinding stone against stone. Their hollow faces pointed directly at him. From the darkness above, dozens of whispering voices layered together. "The seeker has arrived. The story continues with him. The chamber doors slammed shut with thunderous force. Dust rained from the ceiling. Ibrahim tried to run to the wall, but the floor rippled like liquid. The stone wheel began to rotate. Pulling the diary toward its center, he lunged forward to grab it, but the wheel spun faster, creating a vortex of wind and dust. His torch blew out completely, plunging the hole into cold darkness. Only the glowing runes illuminated the room. Then, a massive crack split open in the floor, revealing a deep abyss, a darkness so pure it seemed to swallow the light round it. A shape began to rise from the abyss, tall, thin, covered in shifting black smoke. Its face formed slowly, to hollow eyes, and a grin that stretched impossibly wide. The voices whispered again, now louder, now eager. He is here. He has awoken. Ibrahim stepped back, trembling, but the shadows wrapped round his ankles like cold hands. Holding him in place, the creature spoke without moving its mouth. I remember you. Ibrahim bin Yusuf. Just as I remember the others, Ibrahim's heart hammered in his chest. He whispered to himself, barely breathing, this place, it chose me. The creature leaned closer, its shadow merging with the floor, the walls. The statues, no, it replied. You chose the darkness. The stone wheel stopped spinning. Abyss widened, and the creature reached out a hand made of shadows toward him. But here it was stronger. Ibrahim stumbled backward, staring into the fog-filled forest that stretched endlessly in all directions. The ground beneath his feet was soft, not soil, not sand, but a strange, cold dust that clung to his shoes like ashes. Above him, the swirling mist pulsed, glowing faintly like a dying moon. Every tree stood twisted, leafless and silent, as if frozen mid-scream. The diary in his hand vibrated weakly, its glow fading. Keeper, Ibrahim whispered. No answer. He tapped the cover. Still nothing. The voice that once guided him was silent, as if drowned in the overwhelming darkness of this place. Then the forest shifted, the crooked trees twisted toward him, their branches bending slightly, as if listening to his heartbeat. A cold wind blew, carrying distant whispers, not one voice, many, hundreds, thousands. Turn back, turn back, turn back. Ibrahim clenched his teeth. There is no turning back, he whispered. Somewhere deeper in the forest, something moved slowly, deliberately. Branches cracked, shadows crawled, a low hum vibrated across the ground. Ibrahim felt the same cold presence he had encountered in the chamber, but here it felt different, more grounded, more real, as if the creature was no longer a shadow, but flesh. He took a cautious step forward. The forest reacted instantly. Footprints, not his, appeared on the ash-covered ground, stretching ahead into the fog. Large, human-like, but deeper, heavier, as if carved by something wearing the weight of centuries. Ibrahim swallowed hard and followed them with each step. The forest grew darker. The trees leaned closer. Whispers grew louder. He walks in the footsteps of the forgotten. He will join them eventually. He reached a clearing. In the center stood a massive stone monolith, tall, ancient, and covered in deep scars. Chains wrapped round it, rattling faintly even though there was no wind. Ibrahim moved closer. Strange marks covered the stone. Handprints, hundreds of them, some large, some small, as if countless. Ibrahim stepped into the final chamber. The air felt heavier than before, almost alive. The glowing symbols on the walls were no longer just lights. They moved slowly, twisting like living veins. At the center of the room, A huge stone slab stood upright, a single black mark pulsed on its surface. As if something inside it was breathing, the diary in Ibrahim's hand grew warm, then hot, glowing with the same dark light. A whisper echoed all round him, louder than ever. The darkness remembers you, and now it wants your answer. The floor beneath him trembled, strange shadows crawled across the walls. Forming human-like shapes, some reached toward him, some crawled away in fear. The entire temple seemed to be waiting for Ibrahim's next step. He opened the diary. The final page revealed itself, glowing with a warning. One step forward binds you forever. One step back frees you. But the darkness will follow your name. Ibrahim took a deep breath. His heart pounded like thunder. He could feel the unseen presence behind him, cold, tall, and watching. He whispered to himself, "I have come too far, but should I go forward, or should I escape?" The chamber darkened suddenly. A chilling voice spoke again. "Choose, Ibrahim." The entire room began collapsing inward. Walls shifted. Shadows screamed silently. The black mark on the stone grew wider like an opening. Mouth. Ibrahim faced it. The final choice stood before him. And then everything went silent. Completely silent. Darkness swallowed the chamber. Only Ibrahim's torchlight remained, shaking in the air, before it flickered out. No one knows what decision he made. Some say the diary was found outside the temple days later. Some say the temple closed forever, with him trapped inside. But one thing is certain, the darkness still remembers. It always remembers. Before the story ends, the final whisper echoes. If you were in Ibrahim's place, what would you choose? Tell us in the comments. Would you take the final step forward into the darkness or run back at it? Do you escape? Your answer will decide the next story. And if you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Story Center, because every comment and every subscribe awakens the next story waiting in the shadows.